I hate yelling. It seems to be the only thing anymore that he responds to lately.
Oof, yeah, that feeling of desperation.
Welcome to the Connect Method Parenting Podcast, where correction is out, connection is in, and your kids want to listen to you. I'm Andy Martineau, creator of Connect Method Parenting, here to help you stay calm, confident, and connected no matter what. Hey, everybody. How are you? We're getting fall colors here. It's getting a little chilly, and I'm so excited. I'm also so excited for today's episode. It's totally different than anything I've ever done. So I'm going to give you a slight backstory. My husband recommended I use this program called NotebookLM. You basically put all your stuff in it. So I uploaded my OG Connect Method Parenting book, the pivot book we cover from the 8-week parenting pivot, and some other stuff I've taught. I loaded them all up there. It helps you organize your thoughts, and it just pulls from your material. So it's not going out into the cyberspace, web, internet, Google. It's not doing that. It's just pulling from what you give it. So there I was, working on my stuff, when I saw this little button in the top right-hand corner that said create audio summary. I was like, what is that? So I clicked it. It took it about 10 minutes, and then I saw it was done, pushed play, and this amazing conversation started happening between, I'm guessing, two AIs, which is crazy. They sound so good. And they were unpacking Connect with the Parenting in 20 minutes. And they had pulled from all of my source material to create a beautiful summary. I listened to the whole thing, and at the end I thought, I'm just going to do a random episode on my podcast. I'm just going to do a bonus episode and upload this and let you all hear it, because I think they did a really good job distilling it down to its essence. And this is something people are asking for all of the time. So I'm going to drop it here, let you listen to it. Let me know what you think. If you think it's weird, if you think it's awesome, I don't know, I'd love to hear it. So here it is. Let's dive in.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are really digging into something huge, something that honestly affects so many people: parenting, and specifically the stress around it. We've got this incredible collection of source material, literally thousands of survey responses, course materials, parents just pouring out their biggest struggles, their fears, what they desperately want to change.
Exactly. And our job today is to sift through all that raw data, that massive information overload, and find the core patterns, what's really driving all this parental distress. And more importantly, we want to map out the framework that's been designed to tackle these patterns head on. It's about a major shift, really, moving away from correction and punishment towards something built on deep connection.
And looking through this material, one thing just screams out immediately, doesn't it? There's this widespread crisis of connection. And because that connection is missing, parents feel like they're defaulting to, well, punitive methods, stuff that often feels reactive and, frankly, painful for everyone involved. They just feel disconnected and worn out.
Completely exhausted. Yeah.
So let's talk about the biggest struggle that comes up again and again in these sources. It's the yelling. And kids just not listening. The emotion tied to this is, wow.
It really is. You see these heartbreaking admissions. We pulled this quote directly from the material. I hate yelling. It seems to be the only thing anymore that he responds to lately.
Oof, yeah, that feeling of desperation.
And it leads to this sense of just being overwhelmed. We saw parents saying things like they feel like they're drowning, especially those with, say, 4 or 5 kids.
Oh.
This terrible fear that they're breaking her spirit because it's just constant correction, constant nagging, maybe punishment.
Right, and what they actually want sounds so simple on the surface. They just want their kids to listen the first time, without needing to escalate things.
Without the nagging or the threats or the yelling, yeah.
But it's deeper than just the daily grind, isn't it? The sources show these really significant underlying stressors making everything harder, like a huge number of parents are consciously trying to break cycles from their own childhoods.
Oh, absolutely. That came up constantly.
They'll say things like they were raised in very strict or authoritarian households, maybe even abusive ones, and they are determined that, quote, yelling and helicopter parenting needs to stop with them.
Exactly. They recognize the pattern and they want out. But you layer on top of that all the external pressures of modern life. Think about single parents doing it all alone, or families navigating divorce or incredibly, sadly profound loss. We saw one note about a parent who lost a child to cancer, then their spouse moved out.
Oh, my goodness.
And they're still trying to manage everyday things like teenage cell phone boundaries amidst all that grief. It's immense.
And things like financial stress, inflation hitting hard, strained relationships, especially with older kids, teenagers, it all just piles up.
It really does. And another crucial piece we absolutely have to acknowledge is the complexity of neurodivergence.
Yes, that was very prominent.
So many parents mention dealing with children diagnosed with ADHD, ODD, autism, and sometimes the parent themselves also has a diagnosis. These complex needs, they just instantly ramp up the difficulty level. Traditional methods often just don't work or even make things worse.
So the core conflict that emerges from all this is parents feel utterly stuck. They know the yelling, the contention, threats, and general exhaustion, as one source put it. They know it's damaging their family.
They see it.
But they also feel totally disconnected. So they're caught between these tools that aren't working but feel familiar and this idea of connection that maybe feels abstract, especially in a crisis moment.
Right. How does connection help when the milk is spilled and everyone's screaming? That's the key question we need to tackle.
Which brings us to the core idea of this framework we're exploring, Connect Method Parenting, or CMP. Where does it actually start?
It starts with the most fundamental principle of all. Connection is the single most powerful influence you have as a parent. Full stop. The sources describe this bond, this relationship, not just as, a nice feeling, but as this vital, invisible force. One source even called it more powerful and essential than food and water.
Wow. That's a strong claim. Because usually we think discipline consequences, that's what gets kids to comply, right?
That's the conventional wisdom, yeah. But the source material actually points to some pretty compelling evidence against that. It references psychologist Harry Harlow's famous monkey studies from decades ago.
The wire mother and the cloth mother. I remember those.
Exactly. And those infant monkeys, they consistently chose the soft, comforting cloth mother, the source of connection, even when the cold wire mother was the one providing the actual food.
So comfort over food, attachment trumped basic needs.
It did. And you see echoes of this in other research, too, like studies with rats where they prioritize staying near their cage mate, that social bond, over getting a food reward.
Okay, so this isn't just feel-good stuff. There's a biological imperative for connection-driving behavior.
Precisely. It's wired into us. The need for attachment is arguably more fundamental than even basic survival needs in some contexts.
So if connection is that crucial, that non-negotiable, the sources then lay out these pillars, right? 4 key mindset shifts needed to actually build your parenting on that foundation.
That's right, 4 pillars. The first one is a big shift. Thinking of yourself as a gardener, not a sculptor.
Okay, unpack that. Gardener, not sculptor.
It means you stop trying to force or carve your child into some specific image you have in your head, the perfect kid. Instead, like a gardener, you focus on cultivating the environment. You provide the right conditions, the rich soil, the water, the sunlight, so the child can naturally grow and blossom into who they are meant to be.
Okay, I like that. Less forcing, more nurturing the conditions. What's the second pillar?
The second is you, not them. This is about taking what some call extreme ownership. It means recognizing that your own emotional reactions, your own behavior, that's the primary thing you have control over.
Just stop blaming the kid for making you yell.
Exactly. And understanding that influence isn't automatic just because you're the parent. It's earned through trust, through that connection. It's not inherent in the role.
Got it. Pillar 3.
Pillar 3 is seeing behavior as feedback, not a flaw. This is huge. So instead of labeling your child, he's lazy, she's defiant, you get curious. You ask, what's going on underneath this behavior? What need isn't being met? What is this behavior trying to tell me? It shifts you from judgment to investigation.
Curiosity instead of condemnation. Makes sense. And the last one. You called it compassionate alpha, not a passive parent. Now, alpha can sound a bit dominant.
Old school. Right, and that's a really important clarification in the source material. This isn't alpha like chest-thumping dominance or being louder. Not at all. It means being the calm, confident, connected leader of the family. You lead with strength, you set clear boundaries, you have expectations, but it's always grounded in kindness and empathy.
So strong and kind.
Precisely. It's making sure that this connective approach isn't mistaken for being permissive or, letting kids run wild. It's about firm, loving leadership.
Okay, so we have the mindset shifts, the pillars. But like we said, the milk is on the floor, the kids are screaming, and my brain automatically goes to threat level midnight. Yelling feels inevitable. how do you actually stop that ingrained knee-jerk reaction in the moment? What's the first, practical tool parents use to start rewiring that default?
That's where the rubber meets the road, isn't it?
Where?
The framework emphasizes that the change absolutely has to start with the parent's own nervous system. Your brain wants to use the old familiar tools even if they don't work. So the very first core tool for self-awareness is something called the STEER framework. STEAR.
Steer.
Okay? STEER is designed to help parents slow down and realize that it's usually their immediate thought about a situation, not the situation itself, that's triggering their intense reaction, like rage or shutting down. That thought happens in, 2 seconds.
Can you give us a quick example of how that works?
Sure. Let's use your spilled milk example, or maybe shoes left out. The situation, the S line, has to be 100% factual. So
Yeah.
the child left their shoes in the middle of the hallway. No judgment, just facts.
Okay. Fact. Shoes in a hallway.
Right. But then comes the thought, the T line. And this is often unintentional, automatic. It might be something like, she never respects my rules.
Yeah.
Or, he does this just to annoy me.
The story we tell ourselves about the fact.
Exactly. And that thought instantly creates the emotion, the E line. Maybe it's intense frustration, maybe it's white-hot rage.
Okay.
That emotion then dictates your action, the A line. Yelling, grabbing the shoes, maybe slamming a door.
Right. Which leads to the result.
The result, the R line, which is often you feel terrible and disconnected, your child feels scared or resentful, and you know what? The shoes might still be in the hallway, or the underlying issue isn't solved at all. STEER helps you dissect that process and see clearly how that split-second unintentional thought created the entire negative outcome.
That's really powerful, just seeing the thought as the trigger, not the shoes. Okay, so STEER brings awareness, but I've mapped it out and I still feel furious. The emotion is still there. What next?
Perfect question. Awareness is step 1, but managing the actual feeling is step 2. That's where the peace process comes in. It's described as a daily tool for really processing emotions and building emotional maturity.
Peace. Okay, what does that involve?
The first step is P-pause. And a key part of pause is doing a thought download. This is literally just getting everything out of your head onto paper. All the swirling thoughts, feelings, judgments, like giving yourself an MRI of your brain, just dumping it all out so it's not rattling around in your nervous system.
Get it out. Okay. Then what? A.
Then A, allow. This is crucial. It's about actively calming your nervous system and doing the work to actually feel the emotion instead of resisting it or acting it out. The sources talk about moving from resistance to surrender. It's also sometimes called the mad to sad process.
Mad to sad.
Yeah. We often resist anger, right?
Yep.
They think it's bad. But resisting it actually traps the energy. Allowing A means letting yourself feel the anger, the frustration, fully, until you can access what's often underneath it, which might be sadness, disappointment, fear, helplessness. True emotional maturity comes from letting that energy move through you.
And this connects to that amazing analogy in the sources about the tranquilized polar bear, right?
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
Such a vivid picture. When a biologist tranquilizes a polar bear for research, once the drug starts wearing off, the bear doesn't just get up and wander off. It stands there and shakes violently. It vibrates its whole body, literally shaking off the stress chemicals, the cortisol, the adrenaline from the capture experience. Then it runs off.
It processes the stress physically before moving on.
Exactly. It doesn't sit there analyzing why the biologist darted it. It processes the physiological stress. For us humans, allowing the emotion, maybe through crying or movement or just breathing into it, is our way of shaking it off so we don't store it or dump it on our kids.
Wow. Okay, so STEER for awareness, peace for processing the emotion. But what if I'm stuck? My old default thought is I'm so impatient and I want my intentional thought to be, I can handle this calmly, but it feels fake. How do I bridge that gap?
Great point.
I want to interrupt this episode to tell you about the No Yell workshop. It's a 2-hour workshop for just $7, 100% money back guarantee, where I'm going to teach you the biology behind why we yell and exactly what to do about it so that you can stop yelling for good. Join me on September 25th at noon Eastern, or catch the replay if you can't make it live. You're going to walk away with real knowledge and a customized plan you can start using right away. Go to cmp.works/yell to grab your spot. I'll put the link in the show notes. This is going to be the best 2 hours you spend on parenting. I can't wait to see you there. Now, back to the episode.
That jump can feel too big.
Yeah.
The framework addresses this with tools called thought modifiers. These are like stepping stone thoughts. They're thoughts that feel more believable right now than the big, ideal, intentional thought.
Like what?
So instead of forcing yourself to believe I am the most patient parent ever when you feel like exploding, you could use a modifier like, it's possible, it's okay, she didn't do the dishes immediately, or even simpler, just acknowledging, this thought I'm having right now isn't actually helping me, or maybe I can take one deep breath.
Ah, okay, so they're like little bridges to get you from the automatic negative thought towards the desired intentional one.
Exactly. They make the shift feel more manageable and less like you're lying to yourself. They help you gently guide your brain towards that intentional steer you want to create.
Okay, so we've worked on ourselves, awareness with steer, processing with peace. That's strategy 1. What's next in the framework?
Strategy 2 is all about proactively building that foundation we talked about. It's called consistently connect. And this is achieved through deliberate, structured connection plans. The idea is that connection can't be accidental or conditional. It needs to be, as the sources say, rock solid, built on unconditional and guaranteed acceptance. Your child should never doubt that the relationship is secure, regardless of their behavior.
And the sources give some really concrete ways to do this, right? Not just vague spend time together. I saw mentions of the 6 minutes that matter.
Yes, that's a popular one. Super simple, very doable. It's just 2 minutes of focused connection in the morning, maybe right when they wake up, 2 minutes when you reconnect, like after school or work, and 2 minutes at bedtime.
6 minutes total. Focused connection.
Focused, intentional, undivided attention. Another key tool is dedicated one-on-one connection time. This is scheduled, special time. Crucially, the child gets to choose the activity.
Child chooses. Okay.
And the golden rule during this time, no teaching allowed.
No teaching allowed. Why is that so important?
Because this time is purely about the relationship. It's about enjoying each other, seeing each other, accepting each other exactly as you are. It's not about correcting their throw, or quizzing them on homework, or improving their skills. Connection is based on being, not doing or performing. This time reinforces that.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so we're building connection proactively, but conflict is still going to happen, right? Kids get upset, parents get upset. How does strategy 3 handle that?
Right. Conflict is inevitable. Strategy 3 is choose closeness, even in conflict. And a core concept here is understanding the circle of big emotions, particularly frustration.
The circle of big emotions. Okay.
Think of frustration as this powerful emotion that signals something needs to change. It's like energy building up. The circle visualizes this energy needing an outlet. There are basically 3 exits from the circle of frustration. Exit 1. The child manages to change the situation, they get the toy they wanted, the rule changes, etc.
They get what they want.
Exit 2. They can't change the situation, so they have to adapt or change themselves. This is where they move through the frustration, maybe feel the disappointment or sadness, that mad to sad process again, and accept the limit. This is emotional maturity developing.
Adaptation. Got it.
And exit 3. Exit 3 is what the sources call foul frustration or attack energy. This is when the energy comes out sideways, yelling, hitting, name-calling, shutting down completely. They haven't adapted, and they haven't changed the situation effectively.
Okay, so change situation, adapt self, or foul frustration. What's the parent's role in this circle?
The parent's job is not necessarily to make the frustration go away or always give them exit 1. Your job is to be the friendly traffic director. You validate the frustration. I see you're really angry about this. And then calmly, kindly guide them towards exit 2, towards adaptation and resilience while holding the necessary limit.
Friendly traffic director. I like that visual. Okay, so that's the overall map for frustration. What about the specific words you use when behavior goes off track? The framework has that sandwich thing, right? The seen and heard framework?
Exactly, the sandwich. It's a structure for responding to challenging behavior while preserving the connection. And the absolute non-negotiable bread on both sides, the thing you always start with, is C.
C, meaning?
Meaning you lean in first. You listen. You seek to understand their perspective, even if you don't agree with the behavior. You establish a working relationship before you do anything else. Your whole energy should communicate. I'm on your side here. Let's figure this out, not I'm here to punish you. Think like a supportive soccer coach teaching a 5-year-old the rules, not a referee handing out red cards. You're in it together.
Start by making them feel seen and understood. Okay. What are the fillings of the sandwich?
The inner layers include things like set. This is where you calmly and clearly set the limit or boundary, but without judgment or shame. That's the coach explaining, hey, the rule is we keep our hands to ourselves.
Yeah.
And another key feeling is play, using lightness, humor, maybe a playful challenge to redirect the energy and reduce tension, especially with younger kids. It can diffuse things so quickly.
Okay, so see them maybe set or play. What else?
A really vital component mentioned is pivot. As the compassionate alpha, the leader, you need the flexibility to pivot if needed. Maybe you realize you're getting dysregulated and need to pause. Or maybe the situation genuinely changes and holding the original limit rigidly doesn't make sense anymore. Pivoting shows strength and responsiveness, not weakness.
Good point. Be flexible. And then what's the final piece of the sandwich? The other slice of bread.
The crucial closing element, bridge. This isn't just ending the conversation. It's about intentionally reaffirming the relationship by looking forward.
How so?
You explicitly mention a future point of connection. You might say something like, okay, tough moment, but hey, I can't wait to read books with you tonight, or looking forward to our game later.
So it sends a clear message.
A crystal clear message.
Whoa.
Even though we had this conflict, even though I set a limit, our connection is totally secure. Nothing you do can break this bond. The bridge actively counteracts that deep childhood fear that love or connection is conditional on good behavior. Hashtag tag out.
Wow. Okay, so it's a comprehensive approach. Self-awareness first, then proactive connection, then handling conflict with closeness. And the results reported in the sources from parents using this, they're pretty staggering.
They really are. The data collected showed, on average, parents reporting that their kids listening improved by 251%.
251%, that's huge.
Huge. And maybe even more importantly, the overall parent-child relationship quality was reported to improve by 202%. It shows this stuff really works when implemented consistently.
But that consistency relies on one core belief they really hammer home in the materials, doesn't it? That this is a process.
Absolutely fundamental. This isn't a magic wand or an overnight fix. Change takes time, effort, practice. They compare it to training for a marathon. You commit to the training plan, you'll have good days and bad days. You might stumble or get injured, meaning you yell or revert to old habits. But the key is you don't quit the marathon. You get back on track with the very next interaction. Persistence is everything.
You stay in the game long enough to see the transformation. And viewing it as that marathon, that long-haul journey, it highlights how parenting inevitably forces us to confront our own stuff, right? Our old wounds, our conditioning.
It really does. It's one of the most intense personal growth journeys you can undertake, partly because unlike a job you can quit, you can't just walk away from your children. You have to figure it out. You're kind of forced to grow alongside them.
Which leads us to a really interesting final thought for you, our listener, to mull over today based on everything we've explored.
If parenting is this unavoidable long-term process that brings up all your deepest challenges and requires you to grow, what shifts in your life? What possibilities open up when you stop fearing failure in those challenging moments and instead start seeing every single one of them as an opportunity for your growth?
Something to think about. That's our deep dive for today. Thanks for joining us.
All right, was that wild or what? What struck me was how clearly it pulled out the struggles parents face and how Connect Method Parenting addresses them. That's exactly what we're going to be diving into in the next round of Pivot, which is starting in October. And I also want to remind you about the No Yell workshop that's happening on September 25th live. So if you're listening to this before September 25th, you can come live and ask questions. It's going to be interactive. If you're listening to this after the 25th, don't worry. You can still get the on-demand version and you get it right away and you can double speed me. See, there's pros and cons either way. But if you're listening to this before the 25th, come join me live. It's going to be awesome. Either way, you're going to head to CMP, which are the initials of connectmethodparenting.works with an S at the end because it works, /yell to grab your spot. I'll also put a link in the show notes. All right, you all, go connect with your kids. And if this episode resonated, share it with any parents who might be ready to harness the power of connection instead of relying on those consequences and rewards to try and get their kids to listen. I'll be back very soon in my own voice with a fresh episode. And until then, have an amazing day and go connect your face off. Love you guys. Bye. If you enjoyed this episode, you're going to want to check out the 8-week parenting pivot, which is the first phase of my program, the League of Extraordinarily Connected Parents. We're opening up a new round in October. So if you're listening to this live, it's going to be October 7th. If you're listening to this and that date has passed, go check out the website, connectmethodparenting.com, and we'll list the next time we're opening. But if you're listening to this live, go check it out because you can already apply and get accepted into the next round so that you can lock yourself in place to have a huge shift with your kids, to get them to want to listen to you. is very different than using punishments, rewards, timeouts, ultimatums to get them to listen to you. We want it to be more cooperative. We want better listening. We want a great relationship, and we want to have a ton of fun when we're parenting. So if that's what you want, if what I talked about in this episode resonated, jump over to cmp.works/pivot. I'll put the link in the show notes as well, and find out more about the pivot, apply to join, and we'll let you know if you get in. All right. Until next time, go connect with your kids, have a blast, and pop back in for another episode soon about how to use connection, not correction, to get your kids to want to listen to you. See you later. Bye.